Whether you're a seasoned off-road veteran or just starting to get into it, having the right equipment can be all the difference between a fun and exciting adventure and a disaster. What's up, and welcome back everyone. I'm Chris with Desert Wrench, and since I have a trip planned for Hurricane Utah next week, I figured now's the perfect time to talk about what kind of gear I carry. I'll have videos coming out in the next couple weeks or so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss it. Now I'm going to break everything up into 3 different categories: safety, recovery, and tools. The first thing we're going to talk about is safety. Now I know most people clicking on this video want to see all the flashy recovery and off-road specific gear, but in my opinion, when it comes to safety, this should be your highest priority. Most of these trails are going to take you far away from emergency response, and depending on the popularity of the trail, you might be the only one out there. So you're going to want to make sure that you're prepared. The first thing you're going to want to bring is a first aid kit. I carry this MyMedic MyFac Large, which has enough supplies to cover me and everybody else in the vehicle. Make sure whatever kit you buy, you familiarize yourself with what's inside and where everything's located so you can quickly grab it and treat whatever you need to in case of an emergency. This particular kit has a tearaway panel so I can mount it to the back of the seat and pull it off in case I'm going hiking or I just need it fast. The next thing you're going to want to bring out is a fire extinguisher. Having a fire extinguisher on hand is crucial for quickly and effectively extinguishing small fires before they spread, causing significant damage. Especially in the desert, things tend to be hot and challenging. Pair that with a fuel leak, some large electrical loads from lighting, or a winch, you've got a recipe for disaster. Being able to quickly respond could be the difference between life and death. The next thing you're going to want to bring out is communications. I bring out a couple of different kinds of radios, and communication is key on the trails. I almost never go out alone. So the first one is a pair of these cheap FRS Motorola radios, which I use to talk from vehicle to vehicle. Another option would be a CB. They have a little bit longer range, but requires a little bit more of an investment. I also carry a ham radio with me. Now, you have to have a license, a ham operator's license, in order to transmit, but you are allowed to listen, and in the case of an emergency, you can transmit without a license. It's going to have the longest range by far, but you do have to buy the license up front, take the course. But it's good to have as a backup in case there is ever an emergency. The next thing I bring is some type of battery pack or inverter. When you're off the grid, keeping all these electronics, your radios, GPS, your phone, is very difficult. Yes, you could use your car, but it's going to charge slow and you have to have your car running. But with these, the Jackery, I have the Explorer 240 and a solar panel, which I can keep it charged. I can recharge a phone about 24 times. And a lot of other devices. You could get away with a smaller battery pack, but I feel like the Jackery is just much more versatile, and for the price, you can't really beat it. A couple other things you're going to want to bring out are a flashlight. That way, if you have to make any repairs at night or you're doing any type of first aid, you can see what you're doing at night. A knife, maybe one with a little magnesium fire starter. That way it does multiple things. And some maps. Now I use my phone with like the onX off-road app, and there's a couple other apps that you can use. But I do like having a paper book like this. It's got all of the different trails, how long they are, when to turn, GPS coordinates, miles, and it's just handy to know if I lose service, my phone dies, I still know where I'm at and I can still get back. The last thing in this category isn't really safety related, but it is important to bring out, and that's going to be water and food. A good rule of thumb is about 1 gallon of water per person per day, and then snacks, things high in protein. I like these little bars. I have a 7-year-old, so I always have my car filled with snacks anyway, but you're going to want to bring that out. With the safety portion out of the way, now we can get on to the fun stuff, recovery gear. Now, depending on the off-roading you're doing, not all of these things are going to be necessary. If you have a purpose-built rig, you're probably going to be doing a lot more difficult trails, which means you're a lot more likely to get stuck. Whereas if you're using your daily driver, you're probably going to be a lot more cautious and take much more easier trails. Either way, having a few of these items are going to give you a better chance of getting yourself unstuck, or in the more likely event, helping somebody else along the trail that may be stuck. Now, one of the first pieces of recovery gear that are handy are these traction boards. I have one of the cheaper sets. I think X-Bull makes them. And so far, I haven't found myself needing these as much, and it was a while before I even decided to get some. So I decided not to spend the extra money and get MaxTrax and got a cheaper set. They're nice to have if you're doing a lot of sugar sand or mud or snow, but I don't think it's a must because I've done quite a bit of off-roading without them. The next thing I bring out is this kinetic rope. It's designed to stretch and absorb kinetic energy, allowing for smoother recoveries. When you're pulling out a stuck vehicle, if you use a rope or a chain or a strap, you want to bring tension on it before you start pulling them out. Otherwise, you're going to have a sudden shock and it could cause damage to the vehicle or hurt people around it if anything breaks. But with these kinetic ropes, they'll stretch like a rubber band and pull you out and preserve some of that energy. I do still keep a regular tow strap with me because it's always good to have different options. These straps don't help out much unless you have a way to attach them, and that's where the next couple things come in. The first are these soft shackles. Now I used to use pretty much exclusively D-rings and chains, but things have come quite a long ways with these kinetic ropes and these soft shackles. They're an easy way to connect the straps to anchor points, winches, or other recovery points on a vehicle. They're a lot safer and cause a lot less damage to, say, one of these D-rings. If one of these lets go, I mean, it's fine, but if a chain lets go, you can seriously hurt somebody. Another cool piece of kit would be this receiver shackle. This just gives you an extra anchor point. If your vehicle's tucked down into a ditch or something, you can put this in the receiver and hook up your rope and pull them out backwards. Even though I prefer the soft shackles, I do still keep a D-ring in case the connection point that I'm trying to make is sharp and I'm worried about damaging the rope, the synthetic rope. I will still use a metal one, but I try to use these first. The last piece of gear on this list is a winch. In my opinion, it's probably going to be a little controversial, but I don't think you need one. If you're going out by yourself, then yes, it is a nice to have and gives you that extra level of security, whereas if you get stuck and you're by yourself, you have another option to get yourself out. But I wouldn't let it hold you back from going off-roading on yourself. And last but not least, tools. I would never go far from home without a basic set of tools. This should include wrenches, sockets, a hammer, pliers, some screwdrivers. It doesn't need to be a super expensive set. If you're going out on the trail and need to make a repair, anything's gonna be better than nothing. You don't need a fancy Snap-on or Blue Point set. You can go to Harbor Freight, pick up a wrench set, keep it in the toolbox of your truck. Whatever you have is gonna be better than nothing. Fluids are gonna be another good thing you're gonna wanna keep in the truck. You're gonna wanna keep some of the common fluids like oil, ATF, brake fluid. That way, if anything happens or anyone around you is low on fluid, you can top it off in an emergency so you can get yourself off the trail and fix it properly. Speaking of an emergency, the next thing is jacks. Having some way to jack up your vehicle in case you need to change a tire or get yourself unstuck. I have this airbag kit, which comes in handy when you're in soft sand and a scissor jack or a bottle jack can't be used. I also keep the regular jack from the truck, and normally I have a block of wood or two, that way if I have to put it down to level out the ground so I can jack up properly, I can. The next tool is going to be a nice to have depending on what type of off-roading you're doing. If you're going to be airing down, then you're going to want to bring out some type of tank or compressor. You don't need to go out and buy a fancy ARB compressor. Even a cheap one from Harbor Freight or AutoZone will at least get you enough air to drive to the gas station and fill up the rest of the way. The main difference between a cheap one and an expensive one is going to be how quickly you can fill a tire and to what pressures and how many times. For example, this CO2 tank is going to fill 20 or 30 tires in about 30 seconds each, whereas a little cheap one from AutoZone or Harbor Freight is probably going to take 3 to 5 minutes a tire, but it's still going to be enough to air back up and get off the trail. Last thing you're going to want to bring out is a ratchet strap. You probably already have these in the truck anyway from tying whatever you're bringing down, but they come in handy if something breaks and you can just strap it back together. Now, do you need everything on this list? No. This is what I carry and what I'm comfortable going out with. I rarely go out by myself, and when I do, it's a trail I've done a few times that I'm confident I can get done with very little chance of getting stuck or something happening. If you have anything I missed or that you feel should be included in this list, comment it down below. That way somebody watching can be helped out. Thanks for watching.